Milí diváci, vítám vás u dalšího dílu našeho pořadu. Každý z nás asi někdy chtěl být slavný. Někdo by chtěl mít známou kapelu, být na velkých pódiích, mít kolem sebe spousty faninek. A můj dnešní host toto prostředí zná výborně, protože jím je Zegan, frontman americké kapely Dismas. Zach, welcome to our studio.
Thank you for having me.
Zach, it's great to have you here in studio. Please tell us, who are you and where you live now?
Yeah, well, I'm Zach Zegan, and I am from Los Angeles, California originally, and now I actually live in Prague, Czech Republic. And what we do is, my wife Kara and we actually help with English camps in the summers here in Czech Republic. I teach guitar lessons a lot. My wife teaches English in a school, so not every day, but as much as she can. And we just like to hang out with young Czech people, so that's kind of what we do. So.
This is great. How did it happen that the Los Angeles guy moved to Prague?
That's a great question. Well, I used to be in a band called Dismas, and we used to tour and play concerts all around the world and traveled around. And there was an American man in Czech Republic named Dave Patty who had heard about my band. And he said, hey, I would like to invite you to Czech Republic. I'd like to invite your band to come play concerts in Czech schools. So that's how we first got invited over here. So, yeah.
And you said yes.
I was curious, but yes, I did in the end say, yeah, we'll try to do that. So we came over and we did a tour, and we played concerts in schools. It was a tour called Exit Tour. So.
Let's get back to US. You were not just an ordinary, to say, Christian band or a garage band. You were a pretty famous band.
It depends on what you mean by famous. I mean, we aren't like Led Zeppelin or something like that. But we played lots of concerts. We toured around the world and played in Asia and the United States and Europe, and had lots and lots of concerts in front of lots of people. We opened and played for lots of famous bands, and got to meet lots of really cool people, and it was a fun experience. It was fun.
You're talking about it just like it was a story of every American band that you just start and become famous and tour with famous bands. How was it with you there?
Well, it was a lot of hard work. We started when I was 14 years old, and the way the band started is my brother and I just wanted to learn music. So we just started trying to teach ourselves guitar, and a lady from our church in California played guitar, and she began to teach us some things. And we took what we learned, and when we practiced and learned and got better and better, and we decided to start a band with some of our friends, and we were terrible. We were a terrible band. But we practiced, and we played more concerts and started touring around California, and then it got bigger and spread, and then we had people offering us record deals and things like that. That was over the course of a lot of years. It was a lot of work.
So this was how Dismas started and began their career. How did it happen later on that you become pretty famous? You were touring with big name bands.
Yeah. Well, we actually met a producer named Brian Garcia, and he worked on albums for lots of famous bands in the 80s and things like that. So he helped record albums for a band called King's X. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. And then in a more pop world, he worked on albums with Kelly Clarkson, and so he worked with lots of different artists. And we met him, and he began to teach us some things of how to record, how to make our show better, and he really helped us meet certain people. And then through him, we met one record label, and then from that point on, there was just open doors for us to play in front of more and more and more people. So, yeah.
What was the life there when you were like growing famous, touring with famous bands? Which names of bands you can name?
Yeah, which bands? Well, the one that always comes to my mind is POD, who is quite a popular band, and we got to actually go to the house of the lead singer, Sonny, and write some music with him and spend some time with him, and then we played some concerts with them as well at some music festivals where we were at, and got to talk with them there and get to know them a little bit more. And so that was a really cool experience for me, because POD was really influential in my life when I was younger. And so that's one example. But you know, we've played concerts with bands like Switchfoot, which was also a really popular band, and then we played at some festivals where, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time now, but Lincoln Park was at a festival that we were playing at, and so there's a lot of popular bands that we played with, and you know.
Please try explain me this. How is the life when you're in a band and you are touring like every day to another destination and playing concert, big crowd of fans, groupies, parties? Well,
you know, I think it is fun. There's a lot of really fun things about it. You get to meet lots of new people, interesting people, because it's music, it's art, so there's a lot of artists that you meet, and they have interesting views on life and everything. You know, for me, it was really, really fun, but it was also a really a lonely place to be at times too.
Really?
Yeah, because you're always in a van or a bus or a plane, and you're always moving, and you never really get to make friends with people. The relationships that you do have, though they may be really nice people and good people, you can't help but think that maybe they want something from me, because it's business, you know, and we all want to grow in our popularity and our fame, and so it's hard in that way, because you don't really know you don't know the people that are really your friends and who really aren't. It's hard to tell sometimes. So if you're in a fight with your bandmates and your friends in your band, then it gets really lonely, because those are the only people you feel like you can trust when you're touring around and meeting new people and going through all those things. So,
my picture of American bands, it's like, hey, they must have a really fun life, they're wealthy, full fortune. So, can you say that you were a rich man when you were in a band? And
nah, I don't think we were ever a rich band, or that, or that we made a lot of money. Where we did have a lot of benefits is because we were in a band and we were on stage a lot, we would have companies give us free clothes, they would give us free food, just lots of free stuff. And so there's a lot of things we didn't have to spend our money on, because people were always giving us things. They said, you know, hey, could you wear this T-shirt in your concert today? And if you want, you can keep it. And hey, can you wear these shoes on stage today? And you can keep them. And so, you know, guitars, guitar companies would come up to us and say, hey, if you just play our guitar on stage today for one song, we'll let your guitarists keep the guitar. You know, so so there's a lot of very cool things that we received because of it. But I wouldn't say we were rich. I would just say there were a lot of benefits to being in that spot. So,
how is it, for example, when you are on stage and then you get to backstage? How is the life in the backstage?
Backstage. Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of interesting stories that I could tell about backstage, because we toured with lots of interesting people. There's lots of interesting bands, and one thing that was interesting for me was one story that really impacted my life from a backstage experience was, I remember it was in West Virginia, the state of West Virginia, and we were on tour and we're playing in a bar, and it was a big bar. Lots of people were going to come to the concert. In fact, I think it was a sold-out concert. And before the concert started, I remember getting off our bus and walking into the venue. And as I walked, I noticed there was this girl. The reason I noticed her is because she was trying to be noticed by all the bands. She wanted the bands to notice her. She was trying to show off her body and trying to impress the guys in the band, because she wanted the attention of those guys in all the bands. And I noticed her, but I kind of walked past her, and as the night went on, it was very interesting, because I would be backstage and walking around and talking to different people, and I'd see her leave one band's dressing room and then go into another band's dressing room. And it didn't take much of an imagination to know what was going on. Everybody knew what was happening. But my bandmates and I, we'd watch her, and it was interesting because the last room that we saw her walk out of, right at the end of the concert, her face had completely changed from when we first saw her to the way she looked near the end of the concert that night. She was crying. There was makeup all over her face. Her clothes were ripped, and she looked like she had been used or abused. And here's this girl that I pictured her the way she was before the concert, wanting to get the attention of these bandmates, these band members, and to be attractive to them. And she thought if she could get that, maybe she could connect with one of these band members, and I don't know, maybe she imagined that her life would be different, or maybe she could brag about some things, you know, meeting certain bands and things. I don't know exactly what was in her mind, but to see her in the end, after all of these things, she got what she was looking for, the attention of the band members. But to see her at the end of the night, I realized she thought there was something that was going to satisfy all her dreams and hopes, and she was looking for attention. And when she finally got the attention, she still was very disappointed. And she was crying. And backstage, here's this girl, beautiful girl, but crying because she had been used and abused by these other people. And I never forgot that. That really impacted my life.
How did it impact you?
In a very brief moment, I realized that this girl and what she was experiencing was very similar to my own life. And it made me think, and I wonder if she was thinking this as well, is there something more to life than just living your dreams and getting everything that you want and everything you desire? Because I had what I wanted, and I still wasn't happy. I still wasn't satisfied. I wanted more, and I could see it in her face as well. And so it made me realize that maybe there's something more. Maybe there's something more to life than this, than playing concerts and being popular and playing music and being famous and things like that.
What was so exciting about Dave Petty's proposition that you decided to come?
That's a great question. I wonder the same thing. It wasn't like there wasn't any. I wouldn't say there was anything really, really special about it. It was. I think it was Dave Petty offering the invitation at a perfect time in our lives. It just seemed to really work out where he offered that to us in a situation where we were already starting to think there's got to be something more than just business and just touring around the world so that we can get more famous and playing more concerts so we can make more money. I think all of us had the sense that there has to be something more, and Dave Petty's call just happened to come at the right time, where it made us think maybe there's something that we could do together as a band that might be more valuable than just business, So, yeah, I think that's what was attractive about it, is the timing of it. So,
what was the difference between American touring and Czech exit tour?
Yeah, there's a big difference. One of the things being is when we were touring in the United States, we had professional crew that traveled with us and helped set things up, and they knew what they were doing. And when we showed up to the venues, the places where we were having the concerts, everybody there knew what to do, and they knew how to set things up. And we would stay in nice hotels, and we would have, not all the time, but we'd have nice green rooms with good food and things, And then we came to Czech Republic, and we were touring here, and we came over here, and it was really interesting because we were working with some Czechs, but we realized when we got over here, it was the first time that they had ever done something like this. And so we really had to learn how to be a team with these Czechs as we traveled to schools. In fact, the first school that we went to on that tour, we went up, we knocked on the door of the school, the lady opened the door, and we said, "Hey, we're here, we're exit tour." And the lady said, "Who?" And we realized, oh, there's a problem here, because we were supposed to have an American band here playing a concert, and if you don't know who we are. So it was a really funny experience, you know, but we learned a lot from it. So it was very different from what we had experienced in the United States.
So what was the purpose of the tour?
Yeah, the purpose of the tour was to go into schools and to be able to share our faith with the students, to interact with the students, to get to know the students, and give the students also, on a very basic level, a chance to speak English with native speakers. So there was a lot involved with it. And, you know, again, we didn't fully understand Czech culture, so we had to learn, again, lessons as we were talking with these students of, oh wait, when I say this, that's not a culturally sensitive thing to say, you know, or things like that. But really, we wanted, as a band, one of the things that we really wanted to do is we wanted to share our faith and why we have our faith, and what it is that the position that it holds in our life and why. And then hear what they have to say about it. Ask them questions. What do you think about that? And just kind of hear their opinions and thoughts on that, and just open up conversation on those things. So,
how did those students respond? There's the American band doing show in the school and saying something about faith. What the is that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the thing that was interesting for us, is as Americans, we like I said, there's some cultural differences. So we were talking about our faith, we were talking about Jesus and God and how our lives were changed by God and these things. And it was really funny, because I'll never forget, some of the students were very honest, and they said, "That sounds so stupid." and for me as an American, in my culture, it's kind of a normal thing. And so it made me think of, why do they think it's stupid? What's wrong with it? I don't understand what's wrong with it. But it was really good, because I learned a lot through it, and hopefully, as we were interacting with the students, we were able to continue to help them understand why we believe what we believe, and why we live the way we live and think the way we think. And so I think it was a really healthy interaction for everybody. You know, we learned a lot through the Czech culture and through the students that we met on Exit Tour. So, yeah.
What was the reason you really came to Czech Republic?
Well, you know, I think there's several answers to that question, but there's two that first come to my mind. Is actually that second Exit Tour, the second one I did with the new band. We went on tour. We were going to schools, and we actually went to a school in Prague. And when we were in Prague, playing in one of the schools, I met an English teacher there. And we became friends and got to know each other, and that woman I met a few years later ended up becoming my wife Kara. So that is a huge benefit for me. I met this American woman teaching English in a school in Prague, and that was my wife, you know. So Czech Republic in that way holds a very special place in my heart. It was part of what brought my wife and I together. But the other thing is that the more and more I came over here, the more I realized that there's something about this country that was attractive to me. There is something that I needed to keep coming back. And I really appreciated the conversations I was having with students about life, about my faith. And I wanted to continue to have those conversations. I wanted to tell them more about who this God was that I was talking about. I wanted to talk to them more about why I live the way I live. And I wanted to tell them more about the story that we're talking about now. Why did I leave the United States and come to Czech Republic? I really believed that those stories, those things that were happening in my life, could actually be worth something and helpful to other people. Because I've learned a lot from it, and I'm still learning a lot. But those were probably the two big reasons. So.
You are talking just about external transitions around this mess and around you, but I guess that there must be also an internal transition in you, that you decided to give up your American career and go to Czech Republic and share your fate.
If I'm being honest, one of the internal things I was feeling was absolute confusion.
Really?
I didn't know what was happening with my life. It was just really hard for me to know which direction to go. It seemed like all of a sudden there were these two different paths, and I had to choose one or the other. I couldn't drive down the middle. That's dangerous. There's nothing there, and I needed to choose one way. And I just didn't know which one to choose. You know, I had no idea. And the confusion, I think, turned a little bit into bitterness, maybe. I was kind of frustrated with my bandmates, thinking, why don't you want to help me with this? Why wouldn't you come with me to Czech Republic and do this? And why are you going and pursuing your own careers instead of helping me? You know, your brother, the guy that we toured with for years. And you know, there was a lot of different emotions in that way. I think the changing point for me was realizing that what I thought was a really, really big transition that my whole life depended on, when I realized, you know, it wasn't as big as I thought it was. That all of us are faced with these transitions, and really what it requires is for us to take a step of faith, in no matter what case it may be, and choose a direction. You know, just either go do this or go do this. And in my life, one of the things that was really helpful for me was my faith, was going to the Bible and opening the Bible and looking at what that says about what it means to live a life walking spiritually with God. That was really challenging to me. I read a story in the Bible of Moses. And in the Bible, the Bible says God told Moses to go free Israel from Egypt. And Moses, one of the first things Moses says, I can't do that. I don't know what to say. I'm not a good leader. There's a lot of things I can't do. And I felt the same exact way when I thought about moving to Czech Republic. I felt, I don't know the language. I don't know the culture. Yeah, I'm playing music, but really, there's so much more to life than music, and I can't do all those things in another country. I'm not able, I'm not capable. And really what I realized is the only way I would be able to challenge myself, and the only way I'd be able to grow and become a better person, but also to learn things, was if I just took that step of faith and try it. And so I took a step of faith. I didn't know what it was going to look like completely. I didn't understand. But I took that step. And when I did that, I realized, you know, it's not as bad. One, I realized it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But two, the lessons I was learning and the people I was meeting, the things that were happening around me were teaching me valuable lessons, things that I can now share with other people when they are experiencing similar life, when they're experiencing big decisions in their life, of saying, hey, I remember being in a big decision in my life like that. And you know what, this is what I experienced and this is what I learned.
You keep on talking about faith and God, but in your previous life, have you always been such a strong in God?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. You know, I can't honestly say that my whole life I've had such strong faith in God. In fact, there's still days now in my life where I doubt, where I wonder if my faith is real, and if I'm doing what is right in my life. There are a lot of times where I have those doubts, and I find actually when I feel those doubts, usually I feel those doubts because I'm not living for God. I don't care about who he is and what it means to my life. But when I search for him, when I'm opening up his word, the Bible, and I'm seeking after him, the Bible says when you seek after God, that you will find him if you seek after him with your whole heart. And so I find in my life when I'm seeking after him, I don't doubt quite as much in my faith. I don't doubt God so much. But, there are times, if I'm being honest, days where I wake up and, it's like, man, today I really don't want to do what I'm going to have to do today. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do this. I don't want to see this person or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go learn Czech language more. There's days where I wake up and I experience that and I really think, man, I really am having a hard time with my faith right now. And part of it is because I'm more concerned about myself than anything else. But when I take my focus off of myself and I put it back on God, it's very interesting to see how my doubts slowly disappear. And they're not as big as they were before.
So from a man mm-hmm. who was searching for his own fame, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. you became a man who is searching for God?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think my search for fame and my search for my dreams and music were a very, very valuable and strong part of what drew me closer to a relationship, is what the Bible says, a relationship with God, a faith in God, a walking with God, and really ultimately is what changed my life completely. So I don't regret being in a band and pursuing my dreams. I learned a lot from it, and it's what's made me who I am today. So,
and who are you today? Who were you before, and who you become?
Yeah. Well, I think it's I am a person who is just as selfish and broken and messed up as anybody else. The only thing that has made me any different is what God, the Bible says, God has done for me, and it's through His Son, Jesus Christ. The Bible says Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, and for the things that I've done that He doesn't like, and He died for me. The Bible even says He died for me even when I was still His enemy. And that's just a powerful love for me. Somebody who would die for somebody that is their enemy, and that is what has changed me. That is what has made me who I am today. And I would not only say did that change me at one point, I would say it's what is still changing me. It's still happening in my life. I don't have everything figured out yet, and I probably never will. And I'm not perfect, but you know what? I am becoming different, and what I would say is better because of the work that God is doing in my life.
Somebody may say that this guy gave up his American dream and moved to Czech Republic to share his faith. Somebody can say you were a loser. But you don't look that way.
Yeah, well, one thing that the Bible says is that God looks at the heart when man's looking at the outside. And so I can understand. I can understand because the Bible says that. I can understand when people look at me and they hear my story and they say, "What a fool! What is he thinking?" But the thing is because of what the Bible says, I'm living for something more than what people think of me. It's not about what other people think about me. If I'm being honest, I don't care, and I shouldn't care about what people think about me to a certain degree. The Bible says what matters most is what does God think of me, and how am I responding to that? And so for me, that's what's most important. I hope that if somebody thinks I'm a loser, I think I have a sense of humor to be able to say, yeah, you know what, I kind of am. There are things about me that if you really knew about me, you would still consider me a loser, regardless of my story. But we all have things in our lives that are broken, where we fail. We're all imperfect in many ways, and we need something. We need a hope. And for me, I think that emptiness that we feel, as we pursue our dreams, as we get our dreams, is actually the very thing that is pointing us to the fact that there is a God, that there is something more than just being famous or being popular or living our dreams.
So what is it all about?
For me, it's about glorifying and worshiping God and finding joy in that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy. But to me, one of my favorite writers, guys, one of my favorite authors, he says this, that we exist to glorify God. And the more that we're satisfied in Him, the more that He is glorified.
Mm-hmm.
So as I find my joy in God, the more I'm satisfied with my life. And I realize there's things I do need and don't need, but most importantly, I need God, and I need Him very badly.
Zach, I really appreciate you came today to the studio and you shared your story.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you inviting me and the opportunity. It's been a privilege. Thank you.
So thank you for coming. A s vámi, milí televizní diváci, se loučím a uvidíme se opět za měsíc u dalšího dílu pořadu Biblická lupa. Dnes byl naším hostem Zegan, frontman kapely Dismas.